All right, speaking practice on. Miss Two is here. Okay, she should be doing speaking practice now. Okay, and so let's start part one first. Okay, let's start part one with 91 about evenings. So, Miss Anto, please. So, what do you usually do in the evenings and why?
Well, in the evening, I usually do a lot of different kind of activities. In particular, I think during the week, I normally will do my homework the most. But on weekends, in the evening, I will probably choose to watch movies or hang out with my friends or with my family members instead of
Mhm,
just studying all the time.
mhm. And do you spend your evenings in the same way on weekends and on weekdays and at weekends? Why not?
Definitely, definitely no,
Not the
because my evenings on weekdays I usually spend on my studying or doing homework. However, at weekends I probably will choose to watch movies or do something that can entertain myself.
Mm,
Because studying all the time definitely stresses me out,
mm,
which can be really annoying to me. So
I,
definitely I will not spend my evenings the same way.
I see, I see. Now, so how do you spend your evenings when you were younger? Like, of course, you're still young, but younger here means like your younger years. How did you spend your evenings? Do you remember?
Well, I think I haven't changed the way I spend my evenings that much since I was younger. I
Hmm.
think normally, even in the past and nowadays, I still had to do a lot of homework in the evenings.
Mm,
However, I think when I was younger, I had more time to enjoy myself or to hang out with my friends and to with my family members. But
mhm.
nowadays, it didn't really happen anymore. I can only have some time for myself at weekends.
I see. And is there anything you don't like to do in the evenings?
Well, I have to admit that I do not like to study in the evenings at all, although that's the kind of thing that I do the most. However, I don't like it at all. Well, because I have been studying all day, and
Mm,
when I go home in the evenings, it is supposed to be the time when I can enjoy myself and just relax. But instead, I have to do homework, which is really annoying to me. But I still have to do it anyway, so it's something that I do not like, but I always have to do.
I see. All right, very good. Now let's move on to the next one, which is okay, so 90, it's about newspapers and reading. So do you often read newspapers? What do you often read about?
Well, actually, I do not usually read newspapers, either online or on the physical newspapers. But mostly, I will hear the news from my friends or
Mm,
hear from someone else talking about it rather than
mm.
read newspapers. And and I think normally I often read news about famous people or something something drama or some kind of drama on social
Online
media.
dramas?
Yeah, I think that's really compelling to me.
I see. And do you prefer reading newspapers or magazines? Magazines, and why?
Well, I
There's a lot of
think
magazines for people your age, you know.
I think in my opinion, I think I would prefer reading magazines because it is obvious that they have more pictures. And I think I do not have to imagine too much when I read magazines. And they have many colorful and very suitable content for people my age.
Content for your
Content,
age. Content.
content.
Yeah, a lot of suitable
Yeah.
content for your age, I see. And how important do you think the news is? Like, for example, is reading the news important for people to, um, to inform people, to inform people. So if people don't know the news, it's like they are clueless about daily events or how can I say things that happens, things that occur around them. So everyone wants to be informative, everyone wants to be informed about many things. So how important do you think the news is? And without it, what would happen? The news here means like every form of news. You can see from newspapers, internet articles, magazines, um, things that people can hear from a radio, something like that.
Well, I think the news is really important in informing people. Um, well, mostly people will get updated about the events that happen around them through the news.
Mhm.
And without it, I think people will clearly be clueless about
Mm.
their daily events or things that occur around them. And I think that's not something really pleasant for anyone because people cannot stand being uninformed or being isolated from something that everybody knows, but except for them. So
Mhm.
I think the news is at most importance.
It's not a very pleasant feeling, to be honest with you. If you are feeling clueless, if you feel like left behind, you feel like people are leaving you behind and they're discussing things that you have no idea about. Feeling left behind, you don't want that feeling. Anyway, so what is the best age for children to start reading? What do you think? Reading here, I mean reading newspaper, reading books, reading magazines, reading everything. It can be like reading online articles, những cái bài tiêu đề trên mạng ha. It can be that as well. So what's the best age?
Well, in my opinion, I think children should start reading as soon as possible.
Hmm.
Well, since they were really small, I think they should also, their parents also read them a lot of stories, and when they grow up a little bit, the reading has become a habit of them, and this habit really helps them to shape their personality or just help them to become more creative and imaginative in
Mhm.
their future. But also, I think they should be allowed to just read the books or the stories or the things that are suitable for their age. Not and they shouldn't be allowed to read anything to read anything too unsuitable or just much that require them to be more mature. I think it's best to start reading as soon as possible with appropriate content.
Content, appropriate content, những nội dung phù hợp, appropriate contents. Mhm. Right. So what kind of books do you often read? There are a lot of different kind of books. Like I think a lot of people in Vietnam they read self-help books. Like for example, how to win friends and influence people. Đắc nhân tâm, làm thế nào để thắng được, có được bạn này bạn kia và gây ảnh hưởng đến người khác. It's đắc nhân tâm, how to win friends and influence people. That's a very popular book. So, or how to get rich. There's like millions of those kind of self-help books, những sách mà gọi là tự giúp bản thân, and there are books that help people, that makes people think that they are special, they should try hard in life, something like that. There are also other kind of books like novels, science fiction, novels, science fiction books, comics, like Detective Conan, for example, Thám tử lừng danh Conan. You know that one, right?
Yeah.
Of course, it's been 20 something, like 30 years already, I think. Oh my God, it's like 20 years, I think, already. Okay. There are also other kind of magazine you can think about. Okay, so what kind of books do you often read?
Well, I think normally I will choose to read novels
Hmm.
because I believe that they bring about a lot of new knowledge and a lot of different situations that I haven't seen, that I haven't experienced myself. And
Hmm.
also, I think they have a set of very a set of characters, and the many of the events that happen in the story is
Mhm.
really interesting, and it just makes me feel that it's really worth reading a novel.
Mhm. I see. And do you think it's easier to read news online than in newspapers? Why not?
Well, I think it depends greatly on each person. Well, for example, there are many people who clearly think it is much easier to read news online because they have the means and they know where to read the news at the most authentic, with with because they know where to read the authentic news, and also
Mhm.
they
Think about the
can,
availability,
yeah, they can.
availability of the newspapers or news online. Sometimes there are websites that are blocked by the government, or there are websites that you cannot get access to easily. But newspapers, it's everywhere now, and it's censored by the government. So newspaper are always censored by the government, luôn luôn được kiểm duyệt bởi chính quyền nha, là newspapers. But a lot of news online are not. The government try to censor them, but it's not that easy. And a lot of news online can be fake news. So the question say, is it easier to read news online in the newspapers? I think it's also about like, is it easy to get access to news online compared to newspapers? Is it easier to read them or not? What do you think?
Well, I think at some point it is, for some people, I think it is easier to read news online
Mhm.
rather than on newspaper because they know how to take advantage of their online reading, and sometimes they do not need to buy any newspapers to read,
Mhm.
but they just only need their phone or like computer and just get updated at any time, at anywhere they go, which is
Mhm.
much more convenient than carrying a newspapers around them. But however, I think some people they would prefer to read newspapers because they believe that like looking at the screen too much harmful to their eyes. So, and sometimes it makes it it hurt their eyes somehow. So I think it depends greatly on each person's interests and also their um, availability. Yeah.
All right. And what kinds of information in newspapers, books, magazine do you find most useful and why? So it's like there are a lot of articles in magazine, books, or newspapers. It depends on what you find useful. Like, for example, when I was younger, I often, how can I say, wait until Monday, wait until Monday, so every Monday, so I can buy magazines that contain like a section about reading horoscope. Chim tinh, không phải chim tinh, horoscope nó chỉ là cái 12 chòm sao thôi. Horoscope is only about 12 zodiac signs. About the 12 zodiac signs, về 12 chòm sao thôi. But astrology is something else. It's much bigger, much more deeper than that. And also sometimes I find informations about, like, let's say, part-time jobs that I can do, or I can find. Did you know that when I was younger, or about your age, I joined in, I wrote newspaper articles for some students' newspapers? Yes, I did. I received some money for it too. It's like a little part-time job I did. And also you can actually find friends there, because there are some sections where you can find people of the same interest, to find people who have similar interests. That's also a good way. Through books and magazine newspapers, you can find other things like sports section. There's also a section to talk about the life of famous people. It's called gossip column. Cột báo chuyên nói chuyện đời tư của người nổi tiếng. It's like gossip columns are basically newspaper articles that they talk about the personal life of famous people. And of course, those things can hurt them to defame people. Nó gọi là dìm hàng người khác. Of course, newspaper they have the freedom of expression. Nó gọi là tự do ngôn luận biểu đạt. Of course, they have the freedom of expressions, and they can talk about everything as long as it doesn't negatively affect people, like actively negatively affect people directly, miễn sao nó không ảnh hưởng người ta trực tiếp. But a lot of newspaper, they have gossip columns in which people just guessing what happened to famous people. Nó giống như mấy cái cột tán nhảm chuyên nói về chuyện đời tư người nổi tiếng, là đoán xem chừng nào cặp đôi này ly hôn, đoán xem chừng nào cặp đôi này tái hợp, something like that. Gossip columns often talk about like the life of famous people like Harry Won and Trấn Thành, those couples, right?
Yeah.
For example, those are the famous people from Vietnam, and they often how can I say, phỏng đoán, they often speculate the love life of celebrities, speculate, phỏng đoán về đời sống tình cảm của những người nổi tiếng. Speculate the love life of celebrities, when will they break up, something like that. Okay, so what kind of information in newspapers, books, magazine do you find most useful, and why?
Well, I think there in newspapers there is a column where there is advertisements about
Advertisement.
advertisement.
UK way we say advertisement. Advertisement is UK. US way advertisement. Nhấn âm 3 và âm 2 nha, khác nhau nha. UK là nhấn âm 2. Advertisement. US là nhấn âm 3. Advertisement. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you say?
Yeah, and in newspapers there's a column where there's advertisement about part-time jobs. Well, because I am going to college, to university in soon, so I think I really need to find out about the employability and also about the availability of my of getting a job when I apply for any major that I am going to in university. And I think in newspapers, those are really helpful uh, in addressing the problems and also helping me to have a general outlook on how I should spend my university years, and also how I can find a job to just make money for my university years.
I see. So, yeah, that's about newspapers and reading. Well, quite interesting, to be honest with you. Now, let's go to part two. Um, 2 and 3, actually. Okay, I would like you to try, okay, 108. Let's try 108. Describe a time that you use artificial intelligence, AI. Like it can be ChatGPT, Bing AI, or whatever AI you can try. Remember, if you play video games on the phone, it's actually use AI too, you know? Because AI actually appeared about 25 or 30 years ago already. And now they're just getting better, you know? Like if you use the Duolingo on your phone, actually it uses AI to train you, you know? So if you use any of the phone apps, they actually use AI a lot. You can talk about any apps you use, like describe a time they use artificial intelligence. And you should say when you used it, what you used it for, how it helped you, explain how you felt about using artificial intelligence. And then, of course, we always have part 3 here. What do you think artificial intelligence can ever match human intelligence? Why not? Well, there are 2 ways to answer this one. You can say either yes or no. It's up to you. Think about how humans can teach the AI in order to do a lot of calculation faster, better, much better than humans can do. So artificial intelligence, they can do repetitive work, things that do not require much thinking, you know. Like for example, they can replace a lot of workers in factories, but the problem is humans still need to be there to in order to check, because machines, they do malfunction from time to time, you know. You know what malfunction is? Malfunction means they still work, but not in the way you want it to be. Nó vẫn vận hành nha, nhưng mà nó vận hành sai cách mà mình đã định ra. Like for example, if you want a machine to make like cookies for you, but after all, the machine malfunction, it breaks all the cookies into powder, for example. You don't want that. That is called malfunction. Nó vận hành sai chức năng. Of course, a lot of machine, they do malfunction. Think about that. Think also about being creative. Of course, we humans are very creative, to be honest with you. We make mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes. But because we make mistakes, those things, people can learn from that, and people can think of new things that can arrive from those mistakes that humans make, you know? AI, on the other hand, they malfunction, yes, because a lot of problems can arise. But we have trained AI for the last 30 years. Now, they can replace a lot of humans. They can even teach us new languages. They can be on many phone apps these days. So what do you think? Now, do you think humans will lose all of their jobs because of AI, artificial intelligence? Why not?
Well,
Okay,
no,
it's a
not
it's a
yet.
quite interesting question, because it requires you to speculate, you know. Think if you want an AI to be a teacher in front of your class, Will people respect it? It's a matter of respect, you know. And then think about jobs that require human interaction. Jobs that require human interactions. Would you want your doctors to be a machine? Would you trust it to make decision for you regarding like life and death situations, những tình huống mà giữa sự sống và cái chết, thì các em có thể là em tin tưởng một con máy để mà nó ra quyết định không? Would you trust a machine for life and death situations, like for example to do operation, để làm những vận hành hay là làm những ca mổ, to do operations on patients without any doctors, human doctors? It depends, because a lot of jobs, they require respect to work, you know, like for example, teaching. You need to respect your teacher in order to learn well, you know. Without respect, no learning. Mình không có tôn trọng cái người giáo viên của mình, không tôn trọng cái gì đó mà truyền đạt kiến thức cho mình, thực sự mình chẳng học được gì đâu, thật luôn á. That's what I believe in, you know. Even if you look at an app, okay? If you don't respect an app, you're not going to spend time learning from it, right? Anyway, so think also about, of course, there's a lot of jobs that are repetitive that can be replaced by AI. Think about that. Những cái công việc nó mang tính lặp đi lặp lại nó sẽ bị thay thế bởi AI luôn á, chắc chắn luôn. And AI even actually try to make a lot of artwork these days. You can see a lot of posts of that AI did, you know. But I hate them all. I really hate them. Anyway, are there any problem? Okay, also think about the fact that when you use AI, you have to spend a lot less money. Like, for example, think about people running their restaurant. They can spend much less money to hire people, but they can use AI to serve customer, to clean the place out for the customer, to everything will be perfect. But of course, you need some humans to, how can I say, supervise. You need humans to supervise the operations of many machines, you know. Cần con người để mà phải quan sát, cần kiểm soát những cái vận hành của những cỗ máy đó nha. Think about what I just said. Are there any problems with people relying too much on AI? Có bất kỳ vấn đề nào với con người quá phụ thuộc vào AI không? Well, think about the fact that when you have calculators, would people thinking capability be limited? Capability, cái khả năng để suy nghĩ con người ta có bị giới hạn không khi máy tính được ra đời? You know, when computer were introduced, and a lot of people, they are afraid that people will lose the ability to do math. You know, what happens? Of course, people still have to do math a lot. Of course, they use Word, Excel, PowerPoint these days a lot. They use Google Docs, things like that, online learning. But the question here talk about relying too much on AI. Like, for example, if you rely too much on AI writing the content for you, you rely too much on AI to do the work for you, what would happen in case of an emergency? Lúc mà có tai nạn hay lúc có cái vấn đề gì mới lòi ra nha. You know, if there's any problem like that, would you trust an AI to drive an airplane full of people? Em sẽ tin tưởng một cái cỗ máy mà nó lái máy bay để nó chở bao nhiêu người như vậy không? Would you trust it? Would you trust an AI to drive you to drive you on buses, to drive a train, something like that? You know? Think about that. Would you trust some AI to work in the law, the court, the law, the how can I say, the court of justice? Nếu mà AI nó làm việc trong tòa án luật pháp thì sao? Would it be fair? Would it be not fair to give any kind of sentence to people, để mà kết án con người ta mà dùng AI kết án được? Well, think about those things. All right, so it's a hard question. Okay, please have some time to think. Okay, Miss Thư, please describe a time that you use AI, artificial intelligence.
So I'm going to talk about uh, the time when I used artificial intelligence for my math problem. So I think the last time I used it was last week, and I was assigned a task about geometry, and I couldn't remember how to do it. So I had to resort to using an app which helped me to solve my math problems, and it's called Quanda. It and it is pretty popular among us students. And thanks to this app, I really could remember how I uh, solved the problem, and also I received a lot of answers to my math task, and there were so many different ways to solve it, which clearly helped me to understand the problem deeper. And I think this time of using artificial intelligence really helped me to solve my math problems. That's the first thing, and also it really helped me to see a lot of people who are really willing to help me, and also help me to realize the importance of artificial intelligence in my life. And I think without it, it would be really hard for me to just survive in my daily task of maths, which yeah, I really appreciate it.
Okay, very good. And do you think AI or artificial intelligence can ever match human intelligence? Why not?
Well, in my opinion, I think that artificial intelligence will never match human intelligence. Well, the reason is that human is the one who creates artificial intelligence, and I think there is no way that human can create something that will and we will let them surpass our intelligence. And also, there are many aspects of life that require human intelligence, and our AI just cannot do it. For example, in many jobs or professions, such as teaching or in medical profession, I think people require a lot of different ways to solve many problems, and also the way they treat their students and also their patients. And I think, well, so in general, I think AI can never match human intelligence.
I see. And do you think humans will lose all of their jobs because of artificial intelligence? Why not?
Well, definitely no. I think it is not possible for humans to lose all of their jobs just because of artificial intelligence.
But of course,
Well,
some jobs will be lost, the jobs that are so repetitive, right?
yeah. Well, I think it is true that nowadays AI have replaced a few number of jobs that require human, and there are many kind of machines and a lot of companies using AI to reduce the cost of employing humans, and also to increase the productivity of their products, of their work. However, I think the majority of human will stay like they will continue to be employed in many various aspects of many jobs of life. For example, I think jobs such as
Which
being
one do you
teachers.
think like high risk jobs, jobs that are highly likely that everyone will be replaced? What do you think about that? Like which jobs are highly likely to be replaced by AI? What do you think?
Well, I think jobs that are repetitive and some jobs that are like they're too dangerous for human to do.
Mm,
I think, for example, there are many companies that have like a system of
mm,
mecha like they have a system that have a lot of machines instead of humans,
mm,
because it reduces the cost of employing labor force, and also I think it sometimes machines they can work for a long time, and buying those machines although at first does cost more than employing humans, but I think in the long run it brings about more benefits to the companies and the industry more than humans, because humans they always have to be replaced because they get old, and um people always have to spend a lot of money in the recruitment process. And also when people retire, the companies also have to like pay them as well. But when machines are just they are just out of order, people can just throw them away without having any consequences. So I think mostly humans will not lose all their jobs, but um, because of artificial intelligence, I think a few number of jobs will be replaced by AI, but just a few.
I see. I see. Okay, so are there any problems with people relying too much on artificial intelligence? Think about that. When ChatGPT appeared itself, when ChatGPT were introduced on on the market, a lot of students rely on that to write the essays for them. Of course, that's a form of cheating. And guess what's the consequences? Of course, they get disqualified. You know, they get disqualified. Bị cấm thi. You are disqualified. It means that you're no longer allowed to take exams again because you cheated using AI. And also, um, the AI depends on like data being fed to it by humans, you know? So of course, if the data is wrong, the AI will answer wrong as well. The answers will be wrong, you know? So what are the problems with people relying too much on artificial intelligence? What do you think?
Well, I think there will be a lot of problems with people relying too much on artificial intelligence. Well, for example, there are many cases of students in schools and also in universities who depend on ChatGPT to write essays or just solve the problems for them without doing it themselves. And those kind of actions can be considered cheating, and it results in many students being disqualified. And even if they just manage to graduate, their knowledge and also their ability to solve problems will not be really effective as people who do not rely too much on those kind of apps. And also, I think many people will somehow lose their ability to think. Many people will lose their thinking capability when they rely too much on artificial intelligence. Well, As a matter of fact, I think they can have almost all the answers for any problems of human. And whenever someone tries to utilize this kind of AI, it is easy for them to just rely on it too much, and then they will not have any critical thinking. And sometimes, when some unexpected situations just pop up, and they just cannot, they are not able to deal with it in an effective way, and sometimes they can even fail. They can even face failure in their solutions.
I see. I see. Okay, I understand that. Now, let's move on. I would like you to try the next one, which is 107. Describe a person you know who you think is very intelligent. It doesn't have to be a person who you like, sometimes they're just terrible. You should say who this person is, how you know this person, how you feel about this person, and explain why you think this person is very intelligent. There are many types of intelligence, right? So some people can do math very quickly. Some people can play musical instrument very well, or some people they just know how to talk, and you really like to talk to them because they understand your feelings. So they are emotionally intelligent. Họ thông minh về mặt cảm xúc, hay thông minh về mặt tính toán, hay thông minh về mặt ngôn ngữ hay là nghệ thuật hay something like that. There are many types of intelligence. So think about what I just said. Some people they are intelligent when they do sports, because they can play many type of sports. That's called kinesthetic intelligence, I think. Kinesthetic, I think. Kinesthetic, I think. I'm not so sure if I remember the right term. Is it kinesthetic intelligence, I think? Giống như là thông minh về mặt vận động á. People who are clever, intelligent with movement, they can dance very well, they can do sports very well, that's one type. Some people, they are very intelligent when they are in nature and they can survive very well. That's also one type. Thông minh về mặt mà tồn tại, sống còn được trong tự nhiên hay something like that. There's also something called spatial intelligence. Nó là thông minh về mặt không gian. If people understand that this thing cannot be placed there, and where can you put that object in order to make like it looks good. Đặt cái vật thể đó đâu để nhìn cho nó đẹp, cho nó đúng cái tỷ lệ. That is spatial intelligence. That is important if you are into like designing, if you are into like making beautiful things, designing, painting, something like that. Now, so part 3 about intelligence. What kinds of games can help children to become more intelligent? I think you know the answer for this one. But think about all the type of intelligence I talked about. You can, based on that, to think about the kind of games that can help children. Remember, it's not only about Sudoku, it's not only about like, playing chess or something like that, or playing puzzle. It's also about you should tell people to talk to more people, like ask children to get involved in a lot of clubs where they can talk to a lot of people. That can help them to become more intelligent, emotionally intelligent. Để giúp cho trẻ nhỏ trở nên là thông minh về mặt cảm xúc hơn nhiều. I think that is very important. Tại vì thông minh cảm xúc nó cực kỳ quan trọng cho sự thành công sau này của trẻ nhỏ nha. EQ is actually important for the success of students or people, very important. And think about if you want your child to excel in sports, nếu muốn con mà giỏi về thể thao thì sao? Of course, they have to join like classes with sports and things like that. But there are some games that can help too. Games that involve many people, you know. Now, do you think that talking to children is the best way to develop their intelligence? Think about what happened if their parents just let them play with their iPads all the time and do not talk to them, you know? Those children cannot even talk proper Vietnamese, you know? Even though if they are like 6 years old, 7 years old, 6-7 tuổi cũng không nói rành tiếng Việt là chết luôn á, thì nhiều trường hợp như vậy lắm nha, phải không đâu? Nó chậm phát triển đúng nghĩa luôn á. Like it can stunt, it can lead to stunted development or stunted growth in many skills. Nó hay dẫn đến cái sự mà tăng trưởng mà bị sự tụt lùi ở rất nhiều kỹ năng nha. Stunted growth in many skills or no growth at all in many skills. Think about what can talking to children help children to learn besides from knowing like new knowledge and learn the language and they can have better connection to their parents, of course, is the best way. Mà thực sự mà nói là đúng thiệt, nói chuyện trẻ nhỏ nhiều vô là nó giúp cho mấy đứa con nó thông minh lắm thiệt. Just communication is important, very important, I think. What are the kinds of jobs where intelligence is particularly important? Có những loại công việc nào mà trí thông minh thì là đặc biệt quan trọng. So it means that there are jobs where you have to make decision quickly, to think quickly, you know, những công việc bắt buộc mình phải phản ứng nhanh và to react or to think quickly, otherwise bad thing could happen. Like for example, being a police officer, like if you are working in emergency situations to solve working in solving emergency situations, you have to be very intelligent and find ways to solve problems quickly, you know. Like for example, if you are working in a hospital, for example, emergency cases will pop up all the time. You have to make decision quickly to save the patient, you know. Làm việc bệnh viện chẳng hạn, em chỉ cần em trễ một vài phút thôi là bệnh nhân chết. Just a few minutes late because you have to think slow, you think slowly, the patient can die, you know. Think about being a firefighter or the police, you know. If you are late, people can die. Think about that. And think about the kind of job where intelligence is particularly important if you are a leader of a group. If you are the boss, the leader, the manager of the group, if you do not think quickly, your company will lose money being leaders or managers. So that's why those positions, they pay well. Why? Because they pay well for your intelligence. They pay well for all the stress that you have to undertake. Mấy công việc mà quản lý tại sao nó phải trả lương nhiều? Tại vì đòi hỏi nhiều kỹ năng và đòi hỏi là kinh nghiệm, đòi hỏi đủ thứ skill đó, chứ không phải không đâu. Stress lắm phải không đâu? So think about that. Of course, being a teacher, you have to be intelligent, of course. Anyway. So basically, repetitive jobs, like working in like a production line, for example, does not require people to think a lot. So intelligence is not that important. Or if you are a cleaning lady, for example, nah, not that much. Because every time you have to do the same thing all the time, you know? So it's not like your intelligence being used is being used in the right way, something like that. Now, do you think that being very intelligent can sometimes be a disadvantage in the workplace. Anh chỉ có nghĩ rằng chuyện quá thông minh có thể đôi khi là một cái bất lợi trong nơi làm việc không? Think about that. A lot of Vietnamese workers, they think that they're intelligent, so they try to find ways they try to find shortcuts, you know. They try to find shortcuts in order to solve problems quicker. But it end up a disaster. Có nhiều trường hợp những nhân viên ở Việt Nam á, tìm những cái đường tắt đón đầu, bước đi tắt để mà giải quyết vấn đề lẹ hơn, nhưng cuối cùng nó lại ra cái kết quả rất là tệ. Người ta có cái câu là, ngoài Bắc có câu gì ta? Một lần không tốn, 4 lần không xong á. Yeah, you know that one, right? Surely you do. I do have northern roots. I know I know a lot of saying too. Anyway, so think about the fact that if you work in a workplace, you need discipline. You need a lot of discipline. And when you are too intelligent, you may stand out from the crowd and the people will not like it. You know, a lot of people, they do not like the fact that you stand out from the crowd, the fact that you always present new ideas. A lot of people, they don't like it. And especially in Vietnam, people don't like it. They don't like you. You will be at a disadvantage in a workplace, you know. So sometimes it's good to think about the feelings of people and try to be smart, try to be wise. You know what's the difference between wise and smart, right? Wise means you know what's good for everybody, not just you. Being smart or intelligent means that you know what's good for you alone, or what's good long term or short term. Nghĩ về chuyện là thông thái, tức là em biết được cái gì lợi lâu dài, hoặc là nó giúp ích cho tất cả mọi người. Còn thông minh thôi á, nó chỉ là cho bản thân em thôi, hoặc là nó chỉ ngắn hạn, khôn ngắn hạn thôi. Khôn khác với lại thông thái nha. It's different. Think about situations where you have to follow discipline, and it's better to work together with people instead of being too intelligent and you try to work on your own, you know. Cái chuyện quá thông minh thực sự nhiều khi là một bất lợi đó. Actually, it's a disadvantage. Okay, so 107. Okay, you have some time to think now. Okay, Mr. Please describe a person who you know, okay, describe a person you know who you think is very intelligent.
So I'm going to talk about one of the students in my school who have graduated about 2 years ago. So when I just entered my high school, and he was in grade 12, and I knew him through he actually was chosen for for an international competition about chemistry, and he was really well known among many students in our school. And the subject he was the best at was chemistry, and he at first, when he was just in grade 10, he already entered the national competition. And when he was in grade 11, he was chosen for a much bigger competition, which is an international one. And he was the only student in our school to be chosen for this subject to compete with international students. And he has always been well known for his intelligence. He can really he can solve any problems about chemistry, and sometimes he was even allowed to teach students, even though he hadn't graduated yet. And also the way he conveyed his knowledge, it was was it was really easy for students to understand, and the way he solved any problems always showed his intelligence and his creativity, and also his excellent problem solving skills. So that's one person that I know and I think is extremely intelligent.
I see. Well, I was when I was your age, yeah, when I was like in grade 11, it was like I think 20 years ago. I attended a competition. It's called the Australian Royal Chemistry exam, and I was among one of the 6 students in my school to get a reward from that exam. It was a great honor. Yes. And
That's
everyone said that I was so intelligent. I don't understand because the problem is I didn't feel that I was too intelligent to that point to be, to be adored by people. I never feel that I was that intelligent because probably, I always feel that there are other people who are way better than me. Anyway, so what kinds of games can help children to become more intelligent?
well, depending on what a lot of different kind of intelligence, and each child has a different kind of games to help them to become more intelligent. Well, for example, first I think games such as Sudoku or doing puzzles can really help children to about can really help children with their critical thinking, and also help them to um, really help them to solve problems quickly and trigger um, their mind. Um, and also I think uh, and also I think there are many strategic games that require children
Strategic, you mean
to,
strategic game, right?
yeah, that
Strategic
strategic
games.
game.
Because I don't know, it sounds to me like there's a lot of tragic game. Những trò game rất là bi kịch. I was like, what? Be careful, okay? It's strategic game.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of strategic games. All right, what about them?
Yeah, so a lot of strategic games really help children to make plans, and also how to think logically, and also they also really allow children to work in a group with other people from that game, so that they can create an effective approach to whatever matter they are going to face. And also, it can really help to strike up new relationships, new
Hmm.
friendships with children through those games. And I think also games that games that are related to dancing or music, and also help children to become more intelligent in their own way. Because there are many games that require children to dance in a unique way, or just sing something um, that they create on their own. And I think those kind of games somehow really help certain children to become more intelligent in their with their own ability.
Okay, I see. Now, do you think that talking to children is the best way to develop their intelligence? Is it the best way or no? Is there other way?
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think that communication with children is clearly the best way to develop their intelligence. Well, as a matter of fact, when because children are still really small, and sometimes they do not really know how to find out about their ability or their intelligence. And when they have someone to talk to, that person can, I think that person can somehow figure out about that child's intelligence and then help them to develop their intelligence as well. And also talking to children helps them to like be exposed to various viewpoints and help them to see the problems or see life in a very own way. And I think in the future it can really help them to just become more intelligent and can solve any problems in a very unique and effective way.
I see. I see. Right. When you have children, you will know. Basically, talking to children a lot, it's actually a good way, but it's very exhausting, because children they ask a lot of questions. So basically, you are like they depended on you to give them answers. If you don't, they will resort to like AIs or Google Translate. No, sorry, Google search and things like that. And a lot of the time, those information there can be false. Anyway, what are the kinds of jobs where intelligence is particularly important?
Well, I think there are many different kinds of jobs that where intelligence is really important. For example, being doctors really require people to be intelligent. Well, in case of an emergency, when they have to make decisions immediately so that they can save their patients, and that's when they have to be really intelligent, and also they have to consider a lot of different factors that they may have to risk when they decide to save that patient in a certain treatment. So, and also I think being leaders or being managers is also need people to be really intelligent. Well, because those kind of jobs means because those kind of jobs really require people to solve problems really quickly, and also they have to understand about their group members, or they have to plan ahead some plan ahead a lot of different things or different approaches to many problems, or how to work in the most effective way. And it also has to be really suitable for each of their member or effective with their company. So I think the kind of jobs that people work in solving emergency situations really require people to be particularly important.
Particularly important. Okay. So do you think that being very intelligent can sometimes be a drawback or disadvantage in the workplace?
Of course, I really think that being very intelligent can sometimes be a big disadvantage in the workplace. Well, first is that people who are too intelligent may not fit in with the crowd,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because sometimes they are too extraordinary, and their viewpoints or their way of solving problem can be really different from other people, and that is what makes them stand out from the crowd. And sometimes they just cannot find a common voice with other colleagues, which can clearly lead
I
to
think it's common ground
conflicts.
actually to find a common ground with people. Tìm được tiếng nói chung với người khác. To find a common ground with people, I think.
And yeah, and that can affect their productivity or their relationship with their colleagues. And also, I think being too intelligent can make can make other people jealous of that person? Well, because they are too intelligent, and as a result, uh, the managers or the leaders may be in favor of them, and they may treat them in a better way than other colleagues.
It
And
depends, you know, it depends also like how are they good with words? Are their behaviors good enough? Sometimes you're too intelligent, but you might not be able to work effectively, or you might make mistakes. Remember that if you're too intelligent, sometimes you make more mistakes. It's weird, right? But sometimes when you're too intelligent, you think that the system is stupid and you try to improve it. But the problem is sometimes it create a lot of problem for the company. You know, tự nhiên có nghĩ mình khôn quá, xong khôn lỏi quá, nghĩ là mọi người đều ngu, xong rồi cái biến đổi làm sao tự nhiên làm hồi công ty mất tiền chẳng hạn, hoặc là gây ra kết quả xấu. A lot of the time it's like that, you know. I'm not kidding. Those things happen, you know. All right, so that's 107. Let's move on to this one. It's I would like you to try here. Okay, it's a big one. Describe a place far away from your home and you want to visit in the future. Far away from your home and you want to visit in the future, okay? And you should say where you would like to go, when you would like to go, who you want to go with, and explain why you want to visit the place. I'm just gonna make this way so it's easier to see. Now, where do people usually travel on holidays? Why do some people think it's enjoyable to stay at home on holidays? Well, think about all the hassles that has to do with, you know, if you go to holiday destinations, the price would be really, how can I say, extraordinarily, like incredibly, the price would be incredibly pricey if you go on a holiday season, you know. And not only that, the quality of service would not be great. So that's the reason why a lot of people they just decide to stay home on holidays and then they take vacations later, you know. It's a smart move. Một cái động thái mà thông minh hơn, you know. Okay, and also think about the fact that there's so many people going on holidays on holiday seasons. So think about the possibility of not being able to have adequate, the possibility of not being able to have adequate housing or accommodation. You know, that's a strong possibility because when you go to a holiday destination, sometimes hotels are overbooked, you know. Đôi khi là những khách sạn nó được gọi là book mà muốn cháy luôn, giống như kiểu mà không còn phòng. There's no rooms left in a hotel to book. Sometimes they're overbooked, you know. And of course, think about the quality of service, really bad, right? You don't want to enjoy a holiday like that, and you would not be able to enjoy a holiday like that, to be honest with you. And also think about the fact that think about crime rate. The crime rate would double or triple or even worse during holiday season because criminals, they would love to steal, to terrorize like tourists, you know, pickpockets and things like that. You know it. Now, how do students who have taken a gap year differ from other students? You know gap year, right? A gap year is when people do nothing. They don't work after like high school ends. They just take a gap year to decide what to do with their life, what to study during their university college year. They haven't decided yet. Sometimes people just after high school, they just go on vacation around the world, maybe try to work part-time to get money, and they might decide what to study later, you know. But while other students, they do not take gap year, just immediately go to university. Of course, a lot of the time there are problems with that because sometimes they made a wrong decision and they just study whatever they don't like anymore. So by the time of their graduation, or maybe they just don't graduate at all, you know, they waste a lot of years, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money to study for things they would never actually like. That happens a lot, you know. Nhiều người ta cứ nhào vô học liền, không biết họ thực sự có muốn học cái đó hay không, xong riết họ không làm nữa, tốn nhiều tiền lắm, công sức lắm luôn á, thời gian nữa. And think about that. Yeah, I would still think a gap year is okay. It's like 1 year you're lagging behind your friends, but it doesn't but it might pay off, you know. It might pay off. Nó có thể là nó sẽ xứng đáng để mà dùng có năm như vậy. It might pay off. Think about that. Now, do teenagers usually travel with friends or alone? And think about why they travel with their friends, why someone would like to be alone, which one would be more fun, which one would be much more fulfilling. You know? Cái nào sẽ đem lại nhiều cảm giác gọi là mãn nguyện hơn, something like that. And then number 5, it's what do you think what do you think is the most desirable place for people to visit during a holiday? Anh chị nghĩ cái nơi mà mong muốn nhất để con người ta viếng thăm trong một kỳ nghỉ là nơi nào? The most desirable place people to visit. Think about tourist destination. Think about tourist destination that you know. Think about temples. Think about temples. Think about beaches. Think about shopping centers. Something like that. And also think about like if you go to Thailand, for example, what would you like to see? Or Singapore, what would you like to see, you know? Now, last question in there, what does tourism have to do with cultural exchange? Cái chuyện mà đi du lịch á, cái chuyện mà làm du lịch á, nó có liên quan gì với lại chuyện trao đổi văn hóa không? Think about what people can exchange, what people can learn from others, you know, from each other. Think about people will broaden their minds and their viewpoints, and they can learn new ways of doing things. New ways of doing things. Like, for example, how the people in that country deal with pollution, how the people in that country deal with like the problem of too much trash, for example. You know, those things people can learn. And also think about the fact that tourism, it's not just going there and enjoy. It's also about learning too. Cái chuyện làm du lịch không chỉ có nghĩa là đến đó để hưởng thụ đâu nha. Nó còn có nghĩa là học được những điều gì nữa. So I think you should focus on learning, like what people can learn with tourism and cultural exchange. Like now, if you go to say Japan, what can you learn from going to Japan, for example? How the people there live, how they save money, how they cook differently, you know, something like that. And remember, when you go to another place, you learn their customs and you learn about their ways of life, you know. Học về tập quán và cái cách sống, lẽ sống của họ nữa. So it allows time for self-reflection, you know. Nó cho mình cái thời gian để mà chiêm nghiệm bản thân. It allows time for you to self-reflection and to improve yourself, Nó cho mình cải thiện bản thân sau đó nữa. So think about that. All right, some time to think now. Okay, so Miss Tu, please describe a place far away from your home and you want to visit in the future, please.
I would like to talk about Korea, a country that I really want to visit in the future. And I think I really would like to go to this country when I graduate high school. And after I
Graduate.
graduate high school and after my national test exam. And I really want to go to this country with my friends because long before we have already planned about this trip, and we were so excited, and just we we found all the information and also all the places that we intended to go for about years ago. And the reason why I want to visit this place is because it has the rich culture, and also it has a lot of cuisines, a lot of different food and beverages that are really tempting to me. And also, I think people in Korea are also very uh, unique in their own way. They have their own national costumes, which I really want to try to wear it for once in my life. But I think mostly I really want to visit Korea just because it's unique and is abundance of food. And of course, there has to be a lot of destinations, a lot of landscapes that I really want to experience in this beautiful country.
Very good. So where do people usually travel on holidays then?
Well, I think the places where people usually travel on holidays depend greatly on their interests and also on their financial situation. First, for some people, they usually want just to travel inside their own country. For example, in Vietnam, people really want to just stay inside their country and not travel too far away because they really want to experience all the beautiful sceneries in their own country and to understand deeply about about other cultures and about the unique features of other ethnic groups in Vietnam. However, there are also many people who really want to travel far away, where where they can be exposed to a whole new different culture that is completely different from their home country. And also, I think it depends. It also depends on their budget. For some people, they can only afford to travel. They cannot afford to travel too far, and they will probably choose the destinations that are not too pricey and they can afford it without overstretching themselves. However, with wealthier people, they probably would choose to travel in more faraway countries where they can see a lot of different people, a lot of different lifestyles, and they can afford it.
Hmm. It depends also like if they're rich or not rich. If they have a lot of debts to pay or not. If you have a lot of debts to pay, you probably wouldn't be able to afford a holiday. Now, why do some people think it's enjoyable to just stay at home on holidays? Sometimes because they have worked so hard, they just want to sleep, during holiday.
Well, I think it it depends on both their personal interests and also about their situations or the events that are happening around them. First, I think for many people who have always been annoyed, who have always been interrupted by a lot of people during their day of work. And so on holidays, they would prefer to stay at home and just enjoy an atmosphere of their own where they can just be themselves and just do whatever they want without having to like worry too much about other people. And I think that is the best choice for holidays for those people. And also, I think some people really, some people they have to they have to do work or they have to study on holidays, and they think it is the best time for them to finish those tests, and they do not want to meet the deadline when it is overdue, or they do not want to rush before the actual deadline. So
Mm. You know,
yes,
actually, before holidays, there are always deadline to do,
yeah.
You know, it's like before holidays, remember, you always have a lot of things to do. So afterwards, people are like, ugh, almost dead, before the holiday season begins. So they would probably be very exhausted even before holiday season can begin, So a lot of people would just decide to stay home, sleep, and save money that way, And they may take a vacation later, of course. Now, how do students who have taken a gap year differ from other students then?
Well, I think there are a lot of differences between students who have taken a gap year and other students. Well, the first one is that the students who take a gap year, I think they will probably have more experience than other students who just immediately get into university after graduation. And those students who take a gap year, they may spend it on relaxing or on taking a lot of different jobs just to experience, just to challenge themselves and get more experience. And once they turn back to, and once they return to their studying, it is probably that it will help them more in focus or focus on what they study, and also help them to find out what they are better at. And I think it helps a lot in choosing a career in the future. However, students who take a gap year definitely have a much, I think they have a slower progress than other students who immediately uh, go into university.
Hmm.
And sometimes, when students get back to university, they are probably left behind by other students. And there are many cases of students taking a gap year get disheartened, and they feel like they will never be able to catch up with their peers, and they may somehow fail in their attempt to study further.
Remember that after 1 year of not studying and you attempt the test again to get to university, it's actually a huge problem for you, It could be a
Yeah.
huge issue. Yeah, you might forget everything, basically, especially with the way that they taught in Vietnam. You might not remember anything, seriously. So, do teenagers usually travel with friends or alone?
Well, I think it depends on various factors. First, I think it can be due to their personalities. Some teenagers really like to travel with friends because they really like the company of other people around them, and they also love the environment where they can enjoy something else, and then they can share it with their friends, and they feel like they can make the most out of those time on those trips or on those vacations. However, there are many teenagers who prefer to travel alone because they just want to experience the sceneries or experience the culture on their own without having to carry too much, without having to worry too much about other people, or sometimes get interrupted by their friends. And also, I think it also depends on their budget. Uh, Teenagers who travel with friends can clearly share the bills, share the cost of traveling and the cost of hotels and a lot of different things when they travel with their friends. And this can solve a big problem for those because this
Teenagers.
teenagers because as teenagers they do not have too much money, and when sharing it is a much better solution for those teenagers as well. So I think it depends on their own interests and also
Personality, and then
and
the
their money
interest,
budgets. Yeah.
amount of money they have. Well, also, I think traveling alone when you're a teenager is actually very rare and also dangerous too. Now, what do you think is the most desirable place for people to visit during the holiday? Desirable. Mhm.
I think where is the most desirable place for people to visit during the holiday depends on many reasons. Um, there are many people who are only visiting the familiar,
Interested in.
interested in visiting the um, near countries or the near cities that where they live, and they just and sometimes those people they do not feel really safe traveling too far, and as a result they only choose to visit somewhere really near where they live. And it can be the opposite for people who really want to travel far and who want to to explore something completely new, and they want to challenge themselves with the problem of traveling far. And also, it, it is obviously due to their uh, how much money they can afford as well.
Mm,
For low income people or people who are not really wealthy, they probably will just choose to visit some sites in their own city, or if they can afford, they will travel somewhere a little further in their own country. But for wealthier people, of course, they will choose to visit faraway places, such as in Vietnam, for example, they will choose to visit Europe or visit many different countries in Asia, where they can uh, meet a lot of new people and where they can try new food and know about different cultures, because basically they can afford those kind of trips and it is affordable to those wealthy people.
interesting thing that you said. Now, so what does tourism have to do with cultural exchange then?
Well, tourism I think is really like closely related to cultural exchange. As a matter of fact, when people become tourists and they travel to a lot of different places, even either near where they live or some faraway countries or places, it clearly broadens their minds and their knowledge and also their viewpoints about different cultures, about other people's personalities, and also about their lifestyles. And this can somehow and in many cases, many tourists who return from their um, trip from a different country with different culture, they are assimilated. They are assimilated somehow, and I think even they do not really realize that they are changing, um, or they are like adapting a new kind of lifestyle in the way they live. And this is really like associated with cultural exchange. And also tourism does help does allow people to have time for self-reflection and to improve themselves. As the more they are exposed to different cultures, to different people, I think the more they understand about the diversity and about the different ways that people can live. And they feel like, and of course, they feel that life is not really confined to a certain area, but they need to look further and they need to open their mind. They need to be open-minded to accept new ways of living so that they can like fit in with the crowd. They can catch up with the ever evolving world right now.
Mhm. Right. Okay, good enough, I think. That's good for today. Let's meet each other on Tuesday